It has been a while since the board has had an education session regarding rulemaking, so we thought we would combine it with an update regarding the status of 21 NCAC 36.0300, approval of nursing programs to the board, as well as information regarding the Rules Review Commission and their part in the rulemaking process. This PowerPoint's also available on your SharePoint site as well if you would like to follow along there. Before I start, I want to recognize Mrs. Meredith Parris, Chief Legal Officer, and Dr. Jennifer Lewis, Director of Education, and the Education Department staff. It truly takes a team effort in order for us to promulgate and amend rules. And this is free flowing, so feel free to ask questions as I move along. So many of the staff around here hear my motto of rules are very important. My other motto is rules are rules. So anyone who knows me knows that I live and breathe the rules for now. So laws and rules govern the board as it carries out its mission to protect the public while regulating nursing practice. The public must be able to read the rules and know the process precisely. So the board can make changes to rules based on legislation signed into law, such as the recent Senate Bill 20 regarding midwifery, changes recommended by staff to the full board based on changes in regulation, such as the education rules, petition for rulemaking requests from interested parties or the public, and rules required and outlined in 150B, such as how to petition for rulemaking. So first, let's discuss the Rules Review Commission. Wanted to give you an overview of the Rules Review Commission and the rulemaking process. So here, the Rules Review Commission is the executive agency created by the General Assembly, charged with reviewing and approving rules adopted by state agencies. North Carolina General Statute 150B requires the commission to determine 4 things: where the rules are within the authority delegated to the agency by the General Assembly, that they are clear and unambiguous, they're reasonably necessary, and adopted in compliance with the Administrative Procedures Act. So our RRC attorneys review the rules based on these 4 criteria and may issue requests for changes to rules as allowed in the General Statute 150B. The agency in turn responds to change requests and update proposed rules to address the request, and then the RRC attorneys make recommendations to the RRC. And as you can see here, the RRC has its own statutes and rules that govern their process, just as rulemaking coordinators have rules for how we submit rules. In addition to the Administrative Procedure Act, General Statute 150B outlines the RRC authority and how rules are reviewed in accordance with 150B. Chapter 26 of the Administrative Code outlines the role of the RRC and provides extensive guidance to rulemaking coordinators on formatting and submission. I always say there are rules for rules. So here you can see the flow chart for the permanent rulemaking process. And these are based on the statutes and rules that we have discussed. Based on this chart, rules can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months to become effective. So from initial board approval to notification of interested parties to submission for permanent rules and review by the RRC attorneys, the rules are under constant review and have the potential to change within any of the processes outlined in this flow chart. So let's take a look at Section 0300, Approval of Nursing Programs, and walk through this flow chart. So in 2021, at the January board meeting, the board approved the EMP, Education and Practice Committee charge to review best practices for nursing education program regulation, the related law and rules, and recommend any needed revisions to Section 0300. The EMP began its work, meeting 3 times prior to the September 2021 board meeting. It was during these meetings that the committee determined it needed an extension in the charge in order to make a recommendation for the full board. So this shows that the board and staff really review and look at the literature and regulations that are brought before them. So in September of 2021, the board approved the Education and Practice Committee request for an extension. So the Education and Practice Committee held 2 additional meetings in March and November of 2022 to complete the board-approved charge and submit a final recommendation. It was in November at a called board meeting that the board approved the recommendation to approve the proposed amendments. So this brings us to 2023. In January, the full board approved proposed rules amendment and directed staff to proceed with rulemaking. The rulemaking process began in February. Again, we're at the top of the flow chart. So we submitted a notice of text which publishes the rule in the NC Register. We had a public comment period which lasts 60 days and a required public hearing to receive comment. It was during the public comment period and the required public hearing that staff received multiple comments related to the proposed amendments. Based on these comments, the board staff determined additional review was needed prior to a final approval of the rules. So in May of 2023 at the board meeting, the full board approved staff's recommendation to withdraw rules for further review based on the public comment received. And this in turn stopped the rulemaking process. In June and July of 2023, staff met with key stakeholders. We held 3 webinars in June and July and posted the information to the board's website. We then brought the recommended amendments back to the full board at a called meeting, and the full board approved proposed amendments and directed staff to proceed with rulemaking. So this will be the second time the board has seen the rules in different format and approved. So in August of 2023, we went back up to the top of the flow chart and began the rulemaking process again. Another notice of text, another 60-day comment period, and another public hearing. So in November of 2023, the board approved proposed rule amendments at another called meeting. These permanent rules were filed with the Office of Administrative Hearings Rules Division and was scheduled for the December 14th Rules Review Commission meeting. On November 29th, we did receive notification from our rules review attorney that there would be a request for an extension of review of the rules for the December RRC meeting. On December 14th, the Rules Review Commission met and approved the continuance for review. And this extension of review was requested due to the volume of rules submitted by various agencies for amendments to the administrative code. So on December 20th, we did receive the official notification that the request for technical change from the RRC attorney was granted, and so we began preparing our response. So in January of this year, we continued to working on the response for requested technical changes and preparing revisions prompted by the Rules Review Commission attorney. Due to the volume of complexity of questions and required revisions, the board staff requested of the RRC attorney an extension to the February RRC calendar. So to recap, the Education and Practice Committee met 5 times. There have been 2 notice of text, 2 60-day comment periods, and 2 public hearings, and the board has reviewed and approved 2 separate sets of amended rules. Also, due to the extension of the review by RRC, the original effective date of January 1st, 2024, which was indicated to the board, has now been moved to an earliest effective date of March 1st, 2024. Again, this is due to how the law and statutes direct both the RRC and us to conduct rulemaking. So this is where we currently are. We're at the 1/3 of the flow chart to go. So this is the most important takeaway from today's Rulemaking 101 presentation. Based on the extensive review with the RRC attorney and pending final approval by the RRC, the language of the rules approved by the full board will differ from the notice of text. While the approved language of the rules will appear different once published in the administrative code, the intent of the rules remains the same, and the requirements of the programs will not change from the rules approved by the board in November. So it should be noted that the board only approves language up until submission of permanent rule. And once we are in the final stage of permanent rulemaking, the language then falls under the general statutes and rules of the Rules Review Commission that we reviewed earlier. So this brings us to our next steps. On February 1st, board staff will submit the completed response for requests for technical changes to the RRC attorney. Once the RRC attorney review is complete, board staff will be informed of the attorney's recommendation to RRC. So even though we submit the responses to the RRC attorney, there will still be discussions between the attorney and Ms. Paris to finalize for the Rules Review Commission. So February 28th, we hope to be on the Rules Review Commission meeting calendar, and the recommendations to either approve or reject the rules, which will come from the attorney, will be presented. If approved by the RRC, the earliest effective date again of the rules will be March 1st. So then the last and final step in the process is publication of the approved rules in the administrative code, which our chapter is Chapter 36, Board of Nursing, and that should be officially available mid-April of 2024. However, the rules would be in effect March 1.